Hey everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Oaks Countdown. Nicole, Russo in Lexington, Kentucky, and Dan Illman in New York, taking a look at what's coming up on the road to the Philly Classic. We'll begin, as we always do, by taking a peek at the current point standings toward a spot in the 14-horse starting gate for the Kentucky Oaks. Fillies who still need points are going to start racing the clock a little bit here, with a little more than 6 weeks to go until the Oaks on the first Friday in May. There's a big opportunity to pick up points this weekend in the Fairgrounds Oaks and the Sunland Oaks. Now, the Fairgrounds Oaks worth 100 points to the winner. In its last 20 runnings, 7 winners have gone on to take the Kentucky Oaks. It's a key prep, but we're going to take a little focus here on the Sunland Oaks, even though it's ungraded and worth 50 to the winner, because it's topped by a big name in Chasing Yesterday.
It certainly is, and Chasing Yesterday certainly ticks all the boxes as it pertains to pedigree, connections, and performance. Doesn't get much better from a pedigree standpoint as a little half-sister to American Pharoah by the great stallion Tappet. Performance, well, she's already a grade 1 winner around 2 turns and has won 4 of 5 lifetime starts. And from a connection standpoint, you've got the great Bob Baffert in your corner.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned all of those connections, and of course, the obvious thing about her is that she's a half-sister to a Triple Crown winner, but I mean, Tappet adds stamina to her as well. I certainly look at the Oaks and think something like that's no trouble. Tappet has already sired an Oaks winner and champion in Untappable. He's sired 3 Belmont Stakes winners. He's about as good of a stamina source as you can get to. Bob Baffert has already won a couple editions of the Kentucky Oaks, and I think Chasing Yesterday's path to picking up the points here in the Sunland Oaks got easier when trainer Simon Callahan said that Bellafina, who was entered in the Sunland Oaks as kind of a backup plan, will stay home for the Santa Anita Oaks as they expect to run that race on schedule. You know, a really important race, I think, for Chasing Yesterday. Her 3-year-old debut, first start since the Starlet, and she's getting back to the races a couple weeks later than planned. She was going to start in the Santa Isabel a couple weeks ago, which was scrapped owing to the situation at Santa Anita.
And I wonder if that adversely affected the 2 Baffert horses that were big favorites in both divisions of the Rebel Stakes last week, both defeated, although both ran very well. Chasing Yesterday, with the defection of Bellafina, should be very, very tough to beat, no matter what the situation of a layoff or a missed start, because she's simply the best horse in the race from a speed figure standpoint. I just love the way Baffert has handled her. He kind of threw her to the wolves in start number 2, shipping her all the way to Saratoga to run in the grade 1 spin away. After that race didn't go exactly to plan, I like how Baffert backed off a little bit, dropped her in class, got her confidence up, gradually moved her up in distance, culminating with that grade 1 score that we're going to see right now in the Starlet Stakes at Los Alamitos, and here she is on the outside, and she's not as brilliant as big half-brother American Pharoah, a horse that could go off and run away and hide from his opponents. But Chasing Yesterday is a very professional, solid, workman-like filly, and if you believe that she's continuing to grow and mature as she gets older, she is a strong contender on the road to the Kentucky Oaks.
Yeah, I think workmanlike is a great word for this victory that you just used. You know, she's not brilliant, but she gets her target. She holds her course true to the end. Okay, I'm running down this horse. I'm running down this horse. You mentioned she got a couple little stakes wins before this while adding a little distance each time. The Starlet was her first try around 2 turns, and she faced not the top flight fillies, but very decent competition in that race. Runner-up Anaya Al-Rab has been knocking at the door. Mother, who had won a stakes at Churchill prior to that, and Oxy Lady, who just came back to be second in the Busher at Aqueduct. I do like that Chasing Yesterday seems to respond when she's in a tight finish or when she has horses in front of her. You know, her only loss was when she shipped outside California for the spin away, so that might be a little cause for pause if somebody's looking to play against her. But as you mentioned, it was only her second career start. She was bumped a little near the break. She was wide, and, you know, she's progressed since then.
Oh, no doubt about it. At Saratoga, the trip just didn't seem to work out. The break, as you mentioned, wasn't there. In the early portion of the race, she was taking dirt for the first time in her career. Then she angled wide, and the kick just wasn't there. It was just a little bit too much to ask for such a lightly raced filly. And since then, again, Baffert has gotten the confidence up. If you are looking perhaps to play against her, you can argue if you're a speed figure fan, well, she hasn't gotten back to that figure yet. Even of her career debut, an 86 buyer in her 2-year-old debut, her final 2 starts at 2. Both victories, Byers is 78 and 82. She hasn't gotten much faster. We'll see if she gets faster on Sunday. She's supposed to win that race as the big favorite and move on. She's not as brilliant as American Pharoah. It's as simple as that. But again, there's nothing that she's done on the racetrack thus far that says that she's not an Oaks contender. And I think it's a very important race, too. I don't think Baffert can afford a horse to regress in the first start back. There are no wasted races, whether it's on the Kentucky Derby Trail or the Kentucky Oaks Trail. You can't hit a landmine. So I'm hoping Baffert is happy with game winner and Improbable running good seconds off the layoff. With chasing yesterday, I think he needs a win. I think he needs a big win.
Yeah, and you know, regardless of performance this weekend, you know, I think she has to win, run second. You know, I'm expecting to see the big race from her. But regardless of what she does on Sunday off the layoff, I do really like her moving forward for all of the reasons we've discussed. As we mentioned, the Sunland Oaks, one of 2 Oaks points races this weekend. The other is the Fairgrounds Oaks, topped by a filly who's got a couple of very impressive graded wins in Serengeti Empress. Dan, what do you think we need to see from her this weekend?
We need to see if she is a pure need the lead type and if she's only effective if she's able to get an easy lead. She had some detractors despite her victory last time out in the Rachel Alexandra. A lot of folks said, well, that's what happens when you give Serengeti Empress an easy lead. She's going to make you pay. I actually was more charitable in analyzing the performance. I thought she ran well from start to finish and was simply better than those horses. And Serengeti Empress might have another pace advantage again on Saturday. She already is the points leader going into Saturday's race. She could pad those statistics. She is going into the race as the horse to beat. I expect another good performance. Keep an eye on Wayne Catalano's Leora, however, who is going to be adding blinkers and might put some heat on Serengeti Empress early. So Serengeti Empress might get a pace challenge on Saturday. And if she's able to overcome, all of a sudden a lot more people are going to like her chances come Kentucky Oaks Day.
You know, if you hadn't brought up the blinkers on Leora, I was going to, because I think that's very interesting, especially with the way Serengeti Empress runs. If Leora is a bit closer to her, I think it will be very interesting to see how this filly responds mentally as well as speed-wise. We're going to answer, I think, a lot of questions this weekend on the road to the Kentucky Oaks with these 2 races. And Dan and I will be back next week to sum it all up for you.